But the people are constantly now are living in perpetual fear every day of their life. That's being laid in shambles in the mental realm.
Không sao, chờ một chút nó hết. Ba, mấy cái building nữa. Đi. Để đi. Ngồi xuống. Ba ngồi xuống. Ba, ngồi xuống. Chung dưới bàn này là mấy thằng được chung dưới bàn. Hết rồi, xíu nó hết rồi.
Then he says, and I shall bring thee down, and I shall reduce thee. The big strutting Japan, the big strutting third world power. I remember the 80s when we lived in California, and when we was traveling the world a lot. I was telling people here everywhere we went, just about every airport. I don't care if it was in a voodoo land, it was in India, Philippines, Africa, wherever we went, we always saw a little huddle of Japs in their business suits, smoking their cigarettes nervously, talking and chattering about business. Their little briefcases. There was usually always from 8 to a dozen of them, always in a circle. They never slept, they never rested, they always talking business because they was on business adventures to buy up the world. As you know, they had plenty of money. They was raised out of the rubble of World War II. They become a superpower, and they was buying up everything. They was going all over the world buying stuff. In those days, everybody feared Japan, buying everything. Well, we know they bought so much stuff here, and we're indebted to them to this day. Okay, that word is as we're getting in print. I just read it to you, 16-year-old word. And it's just like this in that old newspaper, just like that, the word to Japan. It's something we didn't make up. It's there. God said, this is for Japan. That's how God speaks to us. Okay, that's in print, and I could tell you a lot more about that, but we'll stop on that. And when we went to Europe, now that was in 95. Now I have a set of prophecies right here. This says prophecies to Europe trip 1998. 3 years after that Japan prophecy, I spoke to my wife and I to go to Europe, and my son went with us to help us carry our stuff. And as you know, we went on a 3-week blitz. I mean, we hardly slept. We was on trains almost all the time. This city, that city, this country, that country, just boom, 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 boom. I mean, we was like, you know, we didn't know if it was night or day sometimes because 3 solid weeks we was on the move. One place we stayed in Ukraine a little bit of time. That's in Russia, old Russia. We stayed there a little bit. But anyway, before we started to Europe, God said, I want you to prophesy against San Francisco, California. Now, we prophesied against, we didn't go there in person because we didn't have to. We'd been there many times. We asked God, we pled with God, do we have to drive all the way over there? We've been there many times. Do we have to cross country now and go there? He says, no, you don't have to go there. You can do it from here. So we was happy about that. So we prophesied where we were stationed here. Not here in New Mexico. I think we was, where were we in 98? We was still in, I think we was down in southern Bueno. Anyway, we didn't want to drive from New Mexico all the way back there to prophesy. Prophecies take about 5 minutes and then you drive all the way back. He said, don't do it from here. But I do remember the word, one of the words he says, "O tower of filth." He started that word out, "O tower of filth." Now I got that word somewhere. I don't have it here, but I'm going to get Peter to look it up and find it. But okay, we did that. We started our trip. We went to New York City. And we again begged God, do we have to leave the airport to go into that filthy pile of, you know what? He says, no, you can prophesy right here. So we looked out the window and we could see New York City from, John Kitty Airport. So we prophesied there, and God gave a long word to New York City. And as you know, 9/11 came a few years after that. We'll get that word in print too. And God's not done with New York City, but that was a preliminary, a partial judgment when that place was devastated. Okay, so we left New York City. We flew into France. And we prophesied against Paris. Paris, France. I underlined some of the things. I'm briefly going to mention a few things. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm just going to briefly mention a few things to put in your mind what God is doing, is going to do, and has already done.
It was the moment of greatest terror for people living along Japan's coastline. And now a local reporter's own story has emerged, showing us what it was actually like to be caught in the tsunami. With the water closing in rapidly behind them, he and others run for their lives. This father and 2 children are stranded on top of cars. And this woman clings perilously to a tree. With the help of a fire hose, she's brought to safety as an aftershock shakes the whole area. Thank you, she tells her rescuers, thank you. I thought I was going to die. Rescuing the family takes longer. But eventually, it's successful too. Mike Aldridge, BBC News.
God says about France, and Paris is the capital, that they have been great oppressors, probably because they were Catholic and they oppressed the Christians. I assume that's what he's talking about. And he says, oppressors will, who shall oppress thee? He's going to raise up oppressors inside of France that will begin to oppress the French people. It says, they shall arise from within. They won't be an invading army. They're already there. And of course, I know who they're talking about. They're talking about the Muslims. The Muslims and the French people are having one hell of a fight even right now. He says, for I say they shall be murderous. What a better class of people than Muslims. Towards thee, and it shall be because you have been murderous towards my word and towards my truth. Then he goes on and talks about that. Okay. That was given on Wednesday, May the 6th, 1998, 11 a.m., overlooking the city of Paris, France. We went to Belgium, Brussels, Belgium, on May 6th, 1998. In short, he's saying, you shall know despair, and you shall smite your breast, and you shall scream in pain, but I say that it will do you no good, for I say that I have turned away from you. No longer will I hover over you, and no longer will I plead with you. And he goes on and talks about that. And he says, this day, as we gave that word, I have forsaken you. Now, that's a big money center. I don't know what's transpiring there. I don't know what's happening there, but I do know these words are true. Okay, we go on. Now this is, when we went, during this trip we went on into 12 different nations. We ended up in Rome, Italy. We got there on May the 8th, 1998, 4:37 p.m. We gave this word, and I remember at that airport they was having a big fight. Train station. They was literally having a big fight at the counters, fist fighting. And I thought, wow, welcome to Rome. Cussing, screaming, yelling, police had to get involved, all this stuff. I don't know if it's because we were there or not, but he was erupting in violence. I don't know where the Pope was. Anyway, in part, this is quite a long word for Rome. Now, I don't have to tell you about Rome, Italy, friends. It's the headquarters of Roman Catholicism. God starts out to saying, I do not forget. I do not forget. He gave that twice. And that which is done against my own shall I not forget. He says, I say, so shall I bring the curse of thy doings upon thee. And I say, because you have destroyed those who love me, and you have devoured them, and you have eaten them up, I say, I shall bring the curse upon you. He's talking about Roman Catholicism punishing God's true people. He doesn't forget. He says also, he says, you've murdered my people because they stood for truth. I shall tear thee to pieces. Then he gives a long word there. He says, I say unto thee that my indictment shall stand, and that which I have delivered unto thee this day, May the 8th, I say no man shall wipe it away. And through those spirits that are in you, all those spirits in you laugh and mock, I say you shall be mocked. And I say you shall become the laughing stock. And of course you know Rome is the laughing stock of the world right now through their child abuse cases. They're losing billions of dollars. Everybody laughs at the Roman Catholic Church today. You say you're against homosexuality, but yet all your priests are homosexuals and child molesters. Actually, no one takes Rome serious anymore. People are mocking this. Well, if you've been reading the news in the last 10 years, you'll see city after city after city. I was just reading this morning in a current newspaper. Right now, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is having another huge Roman Catholic indictment against the priest there that's been molesting so many children. You know, they said they don't think they've stamped it out. I mean, these people are notorious child molesters, and the world has been mocking them. In fact, some countries forbid Rome to even come to their countries anymore because they're so perverted. But anyway, they're being mocked big time by that. But I don't think it's going to stop with the child molestation, the homosexuality. I think they're going to be such idiots that they are, that there's going to be bigger scoffing and mocking with the Roman Catholic Church or Rome. And when he says Rome, he's talking about the religion of Roman Catholicism. Because Rome itself is secular. It doesn't give a jack frat really about Catholicism. Did you know most Roman people don't even care? Well, I'm just saying most Italians doesn't even care about Catholicism. Now, the Roman Catholic Church is headquartered there in Rome. And of course, we went there and we prophesied against it, and there was a long word there. We went on to Switzerland. We didn't prophesy against that, but God gave us a long word there. I see that. And that's a long word. And then we went to Berlin, Germany. I remember that very well because I could, some of the scars of World War II were still there. As we sit on the train station, way at the end of a train station, we'll walk way away from everybody because we want to be alone. And there was a building over there, a big, beautiful building, half built. In other words, it was like, I'll show you kind of what I can still remember the building looked like. It looked like this. It was all glass. It went up like it was kind of like this. Because the top had been blown off through World War II, and I'm supposed they left it that way as a landmark. And I kept looking at that thing. That looked like a piece of modern art. I kind of got sidetracked thinking, about that piece of, it was just right across from us. It was still left like that. So how did they do that? Some of the windows were missing, but it was still beautiful down here. But up here you can see the whole top had been blown off. But anyway, back to this word. It's quite long. God has said, I have chastened thee sore. As you know, World War I, World War II literally was the doings of God because of their pride, which they lost both wars. Both times they were devastated. And he said, I blessed you. And he said, your hearts is turned against me like stone. He says, I shall send my destroying forces upon you, and they shall devour you. I say, you shall be a heap of rubble when I am finished with you. Heap of rubble, just like he said about Japan. Japan and Germany were, as you know, allies in the war together. If it happened to Japan, it could happen again. If he's talking about rubble, natural rubble, then we can expect that. If he's talking about just the rubble of the economics, I don't know.